We know that here in Menifee there were lots of Native Americans that inhabited the area. In fact, there were Native American villages that are close by to where our museum is here today. There are bedrock mortars that have lots of grinding and milling stones in the area, and also a lot of metates that have been collected in the area, which are what these are, with the manos that are used for milling and grinding. Some of the other things that we have here in our museum are some of the rocks that have been actually ground and used for games that the Native Americans might have played, for rolling across the ground and throwing or shooting spears or shooting arrows at these tools. Also here in Menifee we have some ceremonial rocks. One of them is the ringing rock. It's very special. It actually gave some tones when it was struck in certain places, and they would actually gather and have celebrations there. And so it's still here in the area in Menifee. Some of the other items that we have in our collection that came from local areas were some of the lava rings and many of the tools that they would have used, obviously arrowheads, but also cooking stones that have holes in them that they can take out of the fire with a stick. Around 1880, Menifee had mining activity. There were miners that came here, notably our city's namesake, which is Luther Menifee Wilson. He named his mine and this mining district using his middle name. But in 1880, he was looking for gold, and he found lots of quartz veins in the area, and they were actually producing a good amount of gold in the area. He was producing enough gold to actually have a 5-stamp mill that was right here on the corner of Holland Road and Murrieta Road. And that's where one of his mines was, the Menifee mine. But ultimately the mining kind of came to an end, and we like to say that there were 2 gold rushes here in Menifee. The first gold rush being the gold mines, and the second gold rush was found in wheat.
Yeah, wheat farming actually came to the Menifee Valley in the late 1800s. That's when the farmers started settling in Menifee. And that is when I think the real gold hit Menifee was wheat and grains. They talk about the sun up to sundown farming, and I think it was way longer than that when they were farming. They had to, you got to figure they had to get up and feed the horses, water the horses, hitch the horses. And it was hard, laborious work. Our wheat is grown during the winter. We generally start planting wheat right after Thanksgiving. That's kind of was all our date time. You'd hope for some rain in October and November to get the ground wet and things ready. Then you start planting in November, and you plant through December, and you like to be done by Christmas, because to get the bulk of your rain in December and January and February normally, that would be good. And then we harvest. Harvest time is starting mid-June all through the summer, July, August, and into September. The college along Antelope Road everywhere is still being farmed to wheat, just that we're in such a bad drought year. It looks like we're going out there planting it and nothing's coming up. It's load trucks out in the field and then bring it back to our ranch and store it there. Some grain was sold directly at harvest time. A lot of times, harvest time is not the best time to sell your grain because there's a glut of grain on the market then, so the price isn't as well. So if you can store your grain, it's better. But that didn't always prove. If you didn't have somewhere to store it inside, that wasn't a good option either, because if you did get a late rain or a summer rain, it would ruin it. We rely 100% on the rainfall for wheat, and so the last 7 years have been really pretty bad for the farmers. And we've been through droughts before. It's not anything new. It's just this particular one is a pretty bad drought.
Not everyone had large acreage to grow wheat. And some of them hired out to the larger landowners. William Newport Ranch was one of the big ranches that hired lots of young men to work. In fact, when we're doing research, we almost always find them. Their first jobs they came, if they didn't come with their families, was working for William Newport. They were usually young men or husbands of the families that settled here, and they didn't have another income. They weren't carpenters, or they didn't have a trade, so they would go to work for someone else, and then eventually a lot of them got their own property, and they would expand on that. And of course, when the families came, the wives said, well, we got to have some schools. Our children have to go to school. So they, men, finally, about 1883, they went together and they built a little square schoolhouse, and they had benches for seats, and the teacher had a table and chair. Riverside County wasn't formed until 1893. And this schoolhouse that you see up here, the one that would be located now, location would be on the corner of Bradley and Newport. There's a McDonald's there now. And it had a steeple, and on top of the steeple was a flagpole. And in 1916, electrical storm hit it and dropped the whole bell clear down to the schoolroom. And it was in class, but thankfully no one was injured. So after that, they didn't rebuild it, and the steeple, and they planted the flagpole in the ground. After the Menifee School was sold, closed in 1952, the bell was set up in an outside formation over at the new school on Garbani Road, and today it's going to be encased in this lobby of the new Menifee Union School District on Hahn Road. Menifee does not have a lot of historic buildings like some cities do, so our historical association's aim and mission in life is to preserve our memories, our photos. We have over several thousand photos that pioneer descendants have given us, and we're continuing to collect the history and the oral histories of people. We're very proud of the Menifee Valley.